Shalom, everybody, and welcome back to our class in Rav Noson's beautiful masterpiece discourse, Likutey Halakhot, section Orach Chaim, the laws of Hoda'ah, Hoda'ah, blessings of giving thanks. Discourse number 6. We're still in paragraph 25 towards the end, the 10th section, towards the end of it. How Rav Noson again is going into, I don't want to say psychology, but the deeper meaning behind Yaakov's battle with the angel of Esav and forcing him to bless Yaakov, to agree to the blessings, which, as Rav Nosson interpreted, means that he should bless Simcha, that he himself, this angel whose whole creation, being the angel of Esav, evil, is to inflict upon us sadness and depression, to turn him, the melancholy, into joy. Now Rav Nosson is adding more details and to show that why is this so significant for Yaakov Avinu? Because basically this is the goal. The goal, when finally Mashiach will come and there'll be the redemption, the goal is that the nations will recognize us, recognize our validity, our value, our greatness in the eyes of Hashem, and against their will, they will turn their will to support us, and they themselves will bring us back to the Holy Land with joy. Because the verse reads, Ki besimcha tetzeu, that when we leave the exile and come back to the Holy Land, we'll come back with joy. And also, it's taught in other verses, what you're going to see, that the nations are going to bring us back. So that means these two verses are connected, that we come back with joy, and it's to the nations who will make us joyous in coming back to Eretz Yisrael, showing us the value, how important we are in creation, in the whole master plan, in Hashem's eyes, etc. So for Yaakov, this is so important that at already the beginning, the initial stage of Yaakov becoming a nation, which is now after giving birth to 11 of the 12 tribes, because we still have Binyamin to take care of. He wasn't born yet, and he's entering the Holy Land in order to begin the initiation of the starting foundation of the Jewish people. So already the angel is attacking, and it's Yaakov's job not only to subdue him, but to get him to make us happy, Bezrat Hashem. The angel of Esav to make us happy. Why? Because that's the goal. That's what's going to be in the future. So Rav Nosson now is working, if you want to say hard, to show us this point, that this is the goal, that the nations, against their will want to help us and to bring us joy, So let's take a look where we left off. I'm going to go up a few lines. Shezeu bechinat, because he said earlier the verse from also from Mishlei, Proverbs, that when Hashem wants the ways of man, even his enemies will make peace with him. Okay, that's one idea. But now that this is the goal of the future, like we said, this is just a recap. This is the idea which is brought down by Rabbi Nachman there in Likutey Moharan lesson 24 at the end. Al aitu ashli moshchu, on the words of Rabbi Yeshua ben Chananya to the wise men of Athens, where he said, you will bring us back, and that will destroy the evil, the klipot within you. Shatem ba'atzmechem al kochachem v'chule. Rav Nosson is like wording and rephrasing just certain words and ideas that mentioned there, that you yourselves, the nations, the evil of the nations, against your will of the evil, will bring us back to Eretz Yisrael. And that will be your destruction, because the evil will cease to exist. Only good will be there. Okay? Bivchenat, and Rav Nosson brings this beautiful verse from Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 20. We're going to see the verse inside. Rav Nosson, for some reason, we don't know if it was a printing error or Rav Nosson just summarized the idea, but he's not quoting word for word the verse. But this is the verse that he's picking. Let's take a look at the verse. The verse is talking about after the unbelievable, miraculous downfall of Gog and Magog in the hands of the Jewish people. Gog is the leader, and from Magog. They say today that that's probably a reference to Google. Google on the computer is Gog. All the damage that internet and technology has done. On the one hand, there's amazing benefits, but it's thrust people down, down, down in spirituality, and their level of faith, and their level of emunah, the level of holiness, blemishing the eyes of all the garbage that's available on the internet, etc., etc. So they want to say that Google is Gog. Gog Magog is Google. That's a side point. But going back to the verse, the verse is talking about how the whole world will be utterly amazed how Gog and Magog will fall and be destroyed and killed in Israel. And from the awareness of now the greatness of the Jewish people and the greatness of the Torah and Hashem in the land of Israel, the Goyim throughout the world, the nations will work super hard, flip everything to bring every single Jew left in diaspora back to Eretz Yisrael. So the verse is depicting that moment. The verse again, Isaiah 66, verse 20, reads like this. V'heviu et kol achechem, and they, the nations, will bring all of you, the Jewish people's brethren, mikol hagoyim, from amongst the nations, mincha l'Hashem. They will bring back the Jews like a offering to Hashem, or as an offering to Hashem. The nations, we'll see also Tanat Eliyahu explains this beautifully. The nations will feel they have to do something. And they say money, gold, that doesn't make a difference now. Everything belongs to God. What can we do for Hashem that will be good? We will toil ourselves to bring the Jewish people back to Israel like a mincha. Mincha l'Hashem. Phenomenal how the verse is saying that the nations will bring back the Jewish people, your brothers, you the Jewish people, your brethren, from the nations as a mincha, as a gift offering to God. And they'll bring the Jewish people back basusim, on horses, ubarechev, rechev is like wagons being dragged. Tzabim are covered very, with tapestry and drapes, very comfortable lining in these special wagons. Could be like an airplane today, technically. Uba pradim is the type of mules. Uba kirkarot, and in kirkarot. What's a kirkarot? There's a few explanations here. There's the Targum that says that kirkarot is meaning the nations will be bringing us back while praising Hashem, while singing praises to God. That's kirkarot. A second explanation, which is supported by the Malbim, is that it's referring to a special type of animal, a special type of donkey that runs fast, and the way it runs, it looks like it's dancing. And the word karkar is like what it says about King David, that he was wearing a fine linen garment and dancing in front of the Aron, the Holy Ark, when bringing it to the Yerushalayim to inaugurate the initiation of the temple, the building of the temple, bringing the Ark to Yerushalayim. So King David was so ecstatic and joyous, he was dancing. The word used is karkar. So kirkarot is also dancing. So there's an indication of dancing, and also the second explanation, the first one, of praising God. Okay? So the nations will bring, it's referring to the nations, with joy and song and dance, they will bring back the Jewish people, al har kodshei Yerushalayim, on my holy mountain Yerushalayim. And he's going to explain why the holy mountain. Amar Hashem, says Hashem. And they'll bring back the Jewish people, just like in the olden days, when the Jews brought an offering to the temple, it had to be pure. It had to be clean, pure, meeting all the requirements of purity to enter the temple and be offered. It has to meet all the requirements of no tum'ah, no impurity. The nations will bring the Jewish people back with such care and precision in being careful with the laws of purity. And so the verse reads, Ka'asher yaviu b'nei Yisrael et hamincha b'chlit tahor beit Hashem. Just like the Jews would bring back then a mincha, a gift offering, in a kli tahor, in a pure vessel, to the house of God. In other words, the nations will bring the Jewish people in all these items mentioned, in the horses, in the wagons, in the tzabim, the nice, comfortable, covered wagons, in the mules, kirkarot. So the Meshech Chochmah, he says something amazing. 1 second. Pered is a mixture of two animals. It's a forbidden mixture. And the Jew rides on it. It's like shatnez. It's like a prohibition of shatnez, of kilayim. You're not allowed to gain benefit. So he says it's being dragged. The Gentile is riding the mule, but the wagon connected, the tzabim, the nice wagons behind, have nothing to do with the being in contact with the mule. So there's no problem of kilayim. It's just a halachic specification, ramification that the Meshech Chochmah points out beautifully, amazingly. But the point of the verse is that they'll be so meticulous, the nations, to bring the Jewish people back with the maximum level of purity, as if when the Jewish people brought their actual offerings to the temple, the Goyim will see how can we bring back the Jews in a proper way that'll be befitting them, that as if with comfort and respect and dignity and holiness, with nothing of our garbage, our shtusim, our shkatzim, our impurities that we have, will bring them in that format. Okay, this is the verse, the whole verse that we just read. And again, the commentaries say that this is as a result of the downfall of Gog and Magog, which is now, we're waiting for that downfall. This is the end of the fourth exile, the Roman exile, ends with Gog and Magog, who's the culmination of all Roman philosophy, Roman perspective, and the falsehoods of the descendants of Esav, of making this world big. The biggest falsity the Midrash says about the Esav, by the way, is they created money, bills. Isn't that crazy? Normally, what has value is silver coins, gold coins, but Esav, the Roman Empire, they're the ones, the Midrash teaches us, that initiated transferring value on a piece of paper, making a piece of paper, a shtar, a bill, have a value. What? What in the world? A piece of paper coming from wood has like a value of $100 on it, of $50. Okay, it's made in a special way and everything, that it can be forged, can be fraud, but still, they're the one. But that's value. You take a piece of paper, man-made paper, and you print on it $100. All of a sudden, it has a value of $100. 1 second, real value is on gold and silver. What are you doing? No, Esav did that. They're able to reverse and exchange. The Chamber of Exchanges, really, that's Esav's logo. That's his motto. Chamber of Exchanges, that they can exchange value, something valueless, no value, and make it have a value. And the world goes with it. That's the idea of money. Money and bills. What is it? So the downfall of Esav, the Roman Empire, will come with Gog and Magog, whose main thing is also to fool people of a fake reality as not being the real reality, like Hollywood, and now to expose the falsity and the falsehoods of that, and their downfall will be in Eretz Yisrael, when the Jews will be back in Eretz Yisrael, the majority of the Jewish people, which is happening now, that the majority of Jews in the world are now in Eretz Yisrael, more and more. It's happening more and more and more. We're reaching to be the majority of the quantity of Jewish population is in the Holy Land. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and all the anti-Semitism in the world is just pushing Jews to pack their bags and leave and go to Eretz Yisrael, because that's the true home. Even though, even here, there are dangers, there are people who are being killed in this, but like my mother used to tell me of blessed memory, it's better dying in the Holy Land as a Jew than dying in like Toronto or somewhere in Canada or in America or wherever there, and a place that anyways it's not your land and has no value for you. So this is the idea of being in Eretz Yisrael. Not to make it morbid. We're happy. We're alive. Just it happens here, but that doesn't mean it's happening every day. It's not dangerous to walk on the street. That's the halachic qualification of dangers. We can't walk on the street because every day there's people being killed. That's not happening in Eretz Yisrael. Once in, and people wake up and do tshuva, etc. That's what happens. Let's take a look at the Tanad Ve'Eliyahu, how it says it so beautifully, quoting this verse. Tanad Ve'Eliyahu, Rabbah, okay, which was taught by Eliyahu Navi to Rav Anan. If you ever have the chance to be in Tveria, Rav Anan is buried, unfortunately, under what was once Bank Leumi. They built a bank over his grave, which is very sad. Located at the end stretch of the stores, way below the Rambam's kever, if you're ever in Tveria. That's Rav Anan, who was taught by Eliyahu Navi the book Tanad Ve'Eliyahu. So it says here, there's a discussion between Rav Anan and Eliyahu Navi, and Eliyahu Navi is praising the Yetzer Hara, which represents sadness. So Rav Anan says, how could you praise the Yetzer Hara? So Eliyahu says, Eliyahu answers, it's because Yetzirah that we have reward, that we have good. Okay, it gives us a value in our Torah reward, in our reward. Because if now there was no challenge, there's no struggle, what value would be your devotion to God? So it's only fitting that we have a Yetzirah. It makes sense, and that we have to overpower it, even though it comes to the expense that we're not serving Hashem perfectly, and we keep on falling and have major difficulties, major sins and iniquities happening. Still, when you do something good, the value is multiplied like by a million, because you're coming from such a struggle and a challenge to do good. That the Navi is telling Rav Anan, it's worth it. Okay. And then he goes into from there he digresses to the discussion of what's going to happen in the future. Okay? That in the future, B'ezrat Hashem, when the Jewish people will come, just like the Jewish people will come up to the Holy Temple for the 3 festivals, so too the nations will come also in the Chag of Sukkot also to honor God. And it says when the nations will come on the festival of Sukkot to honor God, they will ask, what can we bring with us? And let's take a look inside the wording here. When the nations will be traveling to go to Israel in order to prostrate before God on the festival of Sukkot, one man will say to his fellow brother of the nations, of the Goyim, what gift can we bring with us in our hands to God? By the way, we're reading in chapter 16, paragraph 5 of Tana Dvei Eliyahu Rabbah, the first section, the big section. Everything belongs to God. The silver and gold belongs to Him. So what gift can we bring Him that has a value? Havanim tovit u'margaliot, precious jewels and pearls, shelohen, right? They're His. Uma mincha aleinu la'alot b'yadenu. So what gift can we bring in our hands to God? Miyad holchin u'mevi'in et bnei Yisrael bechavod gadol. So immediately the nations go and bring the remaining Jews who are still in the diaspora with big honor. Because again, this will happen instantly. The third temple we build so fast that even before the Jews in the diaspora come back to the Holy Land, that the temple will be built already. That's one opinion, by the way. Okay? Et bnei Yisrael bechavod gadol. So bring the Jewish people with tremendous honor. Shenemar, like it says in this verse that we just read from Isaiah 66:20, "Ve'viu et kol achechem mikol hagoyim mincha Hashem," and they will bring from amongst all your the nations will bring all of your brethren, the Jewish people, from amongst the nations, a gift to Hashem, basusim uvarecha, like we said in the verse, the whole verse is reading here, in the horses, in the chariots, in the covered containers of transportation, the mules, the dancing camels, or the praises that they'll bring. Al har kodesh Yerushalayim Amar Hashem kasher yaviu et bnei Yisrael. Just like the Jewish people will bring a pure gift in a pure vessel, so too they'll make sure that the vessels bringing the Jews will be pure also. Okay, and it goes on. Unbelievable, this little midrash here. Ve'im yimtzeu mibnei Yisrael ben shana achat. And if the nations find amongst the Jews in the diaspora coming to bring them back a child of 1 year old who still needs to be nursed, or ben shtei shanim, or 2 years that has to be nursed, hasarot menikototo, the female wealthy aristocrats and like the wives of ministers in the nations, they will nurse these babies, these Jewish children. V'im ben eser shanim, if the child is already 10, or ben chamisha asar, or 15, where it doesn't have to be nursed anymore. Hamlachim megadlinotan, the kings of the nations will raise these Jewish children. Shene'emar, like it says, Ko amar Hashem Elokim hine esa el goyim yadi. It's a verse from Isaiah, also chapter 49 earlier, that Hashem says, I will raise my hands to the nations, and my hand and my flag to the nations, and they'll bring my children back bechotzen. Chotzen is a special garment. With their garments, they'll bring back the Jewish people. Uvnotaich al katef tinasen, and they carry the daughters of the Jewish people on their shoulders. And the nations, the kings of nations, will be those who are nursing you. V'sarotem, and the wives of the ministers will nurse you. Minikotaich. Okay? Omanaich means to raise, really. Apaim eretz ishtachavulach. The nations will face down on the earth, bowing to you, Jewish people, coming back to the Holy Land. Va'afar raglaich yelachechu, and they will lick the dirt from off your feet. Okay, this is the verse from Isaiah 49, verse 22. Ukishem ma'alchin baderech, and while taking the Jewish people on the way back to the Holy Land, they will hug the Jewish people, mechabek, like there's the initial hug, and then there's the more personal hug, and kiss you, and they will lick the dirt from off your feet. Shenemar, because the verse reads from Isaiah that we just saw. They will lick the dirt from your feet. Va'az yukol Yisrael tzadikim. At that time, all the Jewish people will be tzadikim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu notel yetzahara mehen, and then Hashem will remove the yetzahara from the Jewish people. V'yavo lemikra, lemishna, lelimud, derech eretz, v'lasab letzon avim shem hashamayim. And then all the Jews will come to learn the Bible, the Chumash, the written Torah, the Mishnah, and learning. That's the next levels of the Gemara, the Kabbalah, etc. Halacha, v'derech eretz, and proper behavior. Because again, when the Jews are amongst the nations, they pick up all these bad conducts, these bad attitudes that are from the nations, and then the Jews will do the will of Hashem completely. Okay, so you see from here that the nations, with joy, are gonna help bring us back. They're gonna want to. They're gonna want. It's against their will because of how they are, their tendency, but they will break against their will to be good and to do good, and that will be the destruction of the klipot amongst the nations. If the actual nations are bad, the bad people, so they'll be destroyed. And if they just have bad tendencies, then those bad tendencies will be removed, will be killed also, will be destroyed. So look how Rav Nosson explains this. This is the idea bivchinat, what he said earlier, that what Rabbi Shua ben Chananya told the wise men of Athens, you guys are going to bring us back, okay, with joy. And that's good. And your destruction is when you bring us back. That's how you will be destroyed. So bivchina, this is the verse. And again, Rav Nosson, for some reason we don't know, is misquoting the verse. This is the right verse, but he just changes the wording. But the same idea comes out. Ve'viu et bnei Yisrael. He doesn't say and the nations will bring your brothers from amongst the nations. Rav Nosson is rewording it, unless it's a print error. We don't know. Ve'viu et bnei Yisrael, and they will bring the children of Israel from the diaspora, mincha Hashem, like a gift offering to God, like we just read the verse already a few times. So Nosson explains better. Hainu, in other words, sheha'akum be'atzmam yitapchu l'sameach et Yisrael, that the idol worshipping Gentiles of the nations, they themselves yitapchu, they will be transformed to bring joy to the Jewish people. Okay, they will bring joy, because that's what the verse says, that the kirkarot, the nations will be praising, and some say riding on animals that look like they're dancing to make the Jewish people happy, but also to express their happiness. And Rav Nosson is saying that they will bring us joy. The same nations who made us feel bad about ourselves will now be the ones trying to make us feel so happy about how precious and valuable we are in creation and in Hashem's eyes. Okay? Unbelievable. And now, with the energy and power of this future joy, mamshechin gam ata. That was the point in the lesson 24. We're able to draw joy in the present from the future joy. All these ideas we just saw in Tanat V'Eliyahu, and this verse is coming to show us what a great joy there's going to actually be. And the verse in Isaiah is giving an actual example of how we will be being brought with such simcha and joy and praising and everything. It's going to be phenomenal. So that's unheard of. We today we're dreaming to see that happen. Especially today where there's so much anti-Semitism on the media, everything, everywhere you go, everyone is against us. That's what it seems. There's so much. We're all we have to be cautious where we go, what we do. It's not like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, more or less okay. Now really we have to be careful, okay? So the idea is drawing the joy of the future into the present. That's what Rav Nosson is saying. That's what Rabbi Nachman says in the lesson. That we can't find what to be happy about today, so connect to the future. That you know it's gonna be well. Everything's gonna be all right. It's gonna be good. So why worry now? If in the end you're gonna win, in the end it's gonna be good, why are you so broken? If it's fatal diseases, sicknesses, divorces, family issues, children issues, whatever, all things that make a person sad and heavy and depressed and weighed down, what can you do? Connect to the future, that it's going to be good. It's for sure. With my faith, I believe in the Torah and the words of the Torah that it's going to be good. So with that belief and knowing through belief that it's going to be good, I can draw simcha to the present. That's what Nosson is saying. Ad, until we do what's called until we can transform the present sadness and melancholy and transform the present sadness to joy. Shebechinat bracha, which is the idea of the bracha, which is again going back to why Yaakov is telling him to bless him. Yaakov is connecting to the future. That's what he overcame the angel. Rav Nosson's adding this idea here. By connecting to the future joy, forcing the angel whose sadness, you now, sadness, angel of sadness, Uncle Sam, angel Samael, we don't say his name, you now turn into happiness. I'm using the joy of the future to do that, okay? And that's what he said, I won't let you go until you bless me, because this factor of turning sadness into joy is so important. And Rav Nosson's teaching that Yaakov Avinu is using the future to connect to the present, because that's where Rabbi Nachman teaches what to do. When you have nothing to be happy about, it's so dark and gloomy, what can you do to be happy in the present? The future. Connect to the future, and then come back to the present using that energy of the future, and with that, deal with your sadness and transform it into joy, which is exactly what Yaakov Avinu did. Just that Rav Nosson and Rabbi Nachman are explaining the mechanics, how this works. Okay? He's filling in the details here. Okay? And he's going to go further to support these ideas, Rav Nosson. He's just throwing us an amazing concept that we never even heard of before. Okay? ובכוח הזאת, אז ממשיכים גם עתה, עד שחוטפים את היגון והנחש שיתהפך לשמחה שבחינת ברכה. Right? Until we transform the sadness and melancholy into joy, which is the concept of bracha, blessing. שזהו בחינת לא אשלחך כי אם ברכתני וכו'. Okay? And this is the idea of what Yaakov said, I will not leave you until you bless me. Like we said, with joy. You bless me and give me joy in the present. And he did this, Rav Nosson shows us, to the future joy. B'ezrat Hashem will continue in the next class to finish this paragraph, hopefully. If you have any questions regarding what's being mentioned here, please contact me by WhatsApp, PM only, private message only, +1 732 800 1863. Once again, +1, an American number, 732 800 1863. Shalom and have an amazing week.